Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to Breslov seminar, web seminar, Parshat Lech Lecha. Parshat Lech Lecha is a very compelling type of a parsha. It's got about 7 or 8 different concepts that come across. Avraham was told, Avraham Avinu was told to go to the land. Then the taking of Sarah, they went down to Egypt. Then they returned and they had a big fight with Lot. Lot had to get away from him. Then they had the battle with the 4 kings against the 5. And then they have the saving of Lot. And then you have the birth of Yishmael. First you have the covenant of the halves with Avraham Avinu. Then you have the birth of Yishmael. Then you have the promise of Hashem to Avraham Avinu. And then the command to go make the Bris Milah. So there's a lot of things that keep on moving in this parsha, but the main focus that we have to look at is what happened here. Hashem took Avraham, he took Abraham, and he said, okay, you were looking for me at the end of last week's Parsha Noach. We find that Avraham was thrown into the fire, the Kivshan Ha'esh, by Nimrod, and he was saved. And Avraham chose God. He searched, the Gemara says, the Medrash, they have details. He searched until he found God. He found God. God said, you found me, I'm going to find you. And he chose Avraham to be the head of a new nation. There's a new nation emerging in the world. Till then, there was Adam. He had his children. There was Noach. He survived the flood. It was him and his 3 sons and daughters-in-laws, and they established a whole new world, 70 nations. If you count them, at the end of Parshat Noach, there are 70 nations, right? But Hashem said, I want one for me, and that's Avraham Avinu. So we find how Avraham was chosen. How was he chosen? He says, go to the land, right? Go to the land. Which land? God didn't tell him. He had to search for it. He had to look for a land that could offer the best for its people. That was the land of Israel. And Avraham found it on his own. God said, you found the land, I promise you the land. The land will be yours and your descendants. And later on in the covenant of the halves, he says, well, if you don't obey the Torah, if you don't follow my lead, so then you're going to be sent into exile. But the land is always called the land of Israel. It was called the land of Canaan. Now it is called the land of Israel. So that's what happened in the very beginning of the Parsha. Avraham went and he looked for it. He checked out, he weighed. The Zohar teaches that he checked out every land. He checked out who's the angel, the protecting angel of that land, and he rejected it. He came to the land of Israel. He found that only God directs. There's no angels, nothing in between. He says, this is the land I want, where God is directly upon us. So he chose the land of Israel. And as soon as he came there, there was a famine. God kicked him out. Why is this? Listen, nothing goes smooth in this world. You're always tested. You're going to be tested, and you're going to be tested again. Right? As the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Avraham Avinu was tested with 10 different times, 10 different trials. And he went through them, and he passed them all. But he put himself on the line for Hashem. And he went down to Egypt. And Sarah was in grave danger because she was captured by the Egyptians. She was taken by the Egyptians. The Medrash says that Avraham put Sarah into a box to conceal her from the Egyptians. Rashi, right, and this is something you might consider controversial, but Rashi says that Sarah, Avraham saw Sarah, he said she's very beautiful. Like he didn't know she was that beautiful because he wasn't after her in a lusting manner. He was after her as a great tzaddikus, as a great woman. But there was no lust in Avraham. But he saw her beauty and he realized they're going into Egypt. Avraham Avinu had to descend into this cesspool of difficulty, of controversy, in order to be able to make his point that there is still a God in the world. And he survived it. In the end, Paro gave Avram many presents. Avram left. He came back to the land. He has his nephew Lot. Avram at that time had no children, nobody to inherit. His nephew Lot said, it's up to me. I'm going to inherit the land. And he started taking over people's lands and sending his cattle to graze on other people's lands. Avraham Avinu said, no, this doesn't work by me. It's not yours. Don't touch it. I may inherit you. You may inherit me. Fine. But that would be in the future. It's not now. Right now, what's yours is yours. What's not yours is not yours. Take a look at the honesty and integrity of Avram. Even though God promised him the land, he wouldn't touch it until the land was actually given to him. And that really took a few hundred years later with Yehoshua, with Joshua, when he conquered the land. So you have to learn from Avram what it means to be a guardian of the covenant, to be pure, not to lust. You have to be able to be pure in money matters. And that's what it's all about. And you also have to do the right thing. No matter what the odds against you are, you have to do the right thing. So the Torah tells us the battle of the 4 kings against the 5. There were 5 different nations that battled 4 different nations, all right? And they were killing each other. And they took Lot as a hostage. Lot became a hostage. Avraham Avinu said it's his nephew. He has to do something to save his nephew. Even though the man was wicked, he went out to save him. And that's the story of what Avraham Avinu represents. Save, try and save. He's close to you. You can't save the entire world. Don't even try. But save that one who was next to you, who was near you, one who you could put some effort into saving. And he saved Lot. And then God made with him the covenant of the halves. That's the next chapter, chapter 15. And God told him, okay, here you have a bright future, but you also have a very severe future. Right? Ema, Chashecha, Gedoyla, Nefeles, Olav, there's darkness, and this is going to be the fate of the Jews in exile, right? But understand that in the end they will be redeemed. And they were told then, you're going to go down to a different distant land for 400 years. That was from the time Yitzchak was born. They ended up in Egypt. Eventually, they left Egypt too. Okay, then we have the birth of Yishmael. Interestingly, and it kind of shakes me up every time when I think about it. What happened? Avram didn't have children. Sarah said, you know what, take in my concubine, Hagar. He took her in, and she got pregnant right away. So Hagar kind of made light of Sarah. She's not a tzaddikus. She's not a real pious person. Because here, the first time I'm with Avram, and I got pregnant already. Sarah, nothing. Right? Though the Talmud teaches that Sarah didn't even have a womb, so it was impossible for her to have children. Still, Hagar made light of her. Sarah got angry. She spoke to Avram about it, and they decided to chase Hagar out of the house. They chased her out. The Ramban, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman, or Nachmanides as he's known, explains that because of the way Hagar was treated by our patriarchs and matriarchs, that's why Yishmael is given the power that he has today. Imagine that. They didn't quite, this is the way the Ramban explains it, they didn't quite take care of Hagar the way you might think. They weren't cruel to her. But it says Sarah, she made her work hard. I mean, that's what a concubine does. But the Ramban says that they should have been more careful. And this is why we have today all the different problems with Yishmael coming up on the world. Right? Hashem told Avraham in the end of this week's Parsha, Yishmael will be big, Yishmael will have a great nation, he will have 12 tribes and tribal chiefs, and that's what they are today, tribal chiefs. You can't really consider them, great people, but tribal chiefs you can call them. And that's what they do. They fight the whole time, they kill each other, whatever. It wouldn't be bad if they kept to themselves, but they spread it out among the rest of the world too. We don't need that. But they have it. They have that promise. They were promised they're going to be a great nation. Right? I'm going to end off with a light word. There's a pasuk that Hashem told Avraham, have the covenant, make the bris milah. You and Sarah, you're going to change your names. You're going to be Avraham, and Sarah is going to be Sarah, not Sarai. And you're going to have a child, Yitzchak, who is going to be the bearer of the Jewish nation. So Avraham was so overwhelmed by this, the pasuk says, Avraham prayed, Lu Yishmael yichya lefanecha. Am I worthy for this? I already have Yishmael. Let Yishmael be the one to be the bearer. So Hashem blesses Yishmael, but he tells him, but Yitzchak is going to be the one. That's what the Torah tells us. And Avraham took the bris milah. So I heard a very interesting word, a commentary. It says, Lu Yishmael yichya lefanecha. Let Yishmael live before you. Right? So the person who told me this said, look at the words. Avraham was a prophet. He foresaw that Yishmael has this penchant for suicide bombings, for killing, just going in. It doesn't matter who gets killed, even if I myself get killed. They have this penchant for dying. So Avraham actually prayed, let Yishmael live. Let him not have that penchant for dying. This way a lot of people will also live. This is what the Parsha is telling us. May Hashem help us and bless us that we are spared from the evils of whatever took place during Avram's lifetime, and that we're able to face the future, the Chaim, the Shalom, from joy and happiness. Amen. Salam.